The standoff with Italy over the fugitive Marines. The Prime Minister is meeting with External Affairs Minister Salman Khurshid this morning. This is the first detailed discussion the two are having on the row with Italy. They can be expected to discuss the government's political strategy and indeed the options before the Indian government vis-a-vis Italy. Sources say the government is likely to expel the Italian ambassador for failing to abide by his undertaking given to the Supreme Court. The government has been attacked by the opposition for allowing the Marines to leave and is being asked on how India will ensure they will return to face trial. Italy, meanwhile, insists it's on solid legal grounds in seeking international arbitration in this case. Italian Foreign Minister Terzi has told reporters in Israel, and I quote now, "We have juridically solid reasons to proceed in the direction of international arbitration. The Indian government is amply apprised of all it needs to know about our reasons, as do many of our partners." Let's get more from our Deputy National Affairs Bureau Chief Pallavi Ghosh. Pallavi, significant that the Prime Minister is meeting with Salman Khurshid as soon as the External Affairs Minister has returned from Abu Dhabi and before the start of Parliament today.
That's right, Parul, and it's not just a diplomatic standoff. Even politically speaking, it's a hugely embarrassing moment for the government, particularly for the Congress party, because that's the party in power as far as Kerala is concerned. In fact, it was interesting, the Prime Minister himself stepped in to issue a strong statement inside Parliament, which of course was rebuffed by Italy. But in this meeting which took place between External Affairs Minister and the Prime Minister, essentially what they were mulling over is what can be the next course ahead. We've also been informed by of government sources that the Prime Minister is in consultation with Ashwini Kumar as the Law Minister, also trying to find a legal way out of the standoff. But as of now, the opinion which seems to have been given to the Prime Minister is that this is an issue which really needs to be battled out in the court, and they'll largely perhaps leave it to the Supreme Court. The government also does understand, in fact, that's the kind of input they've been given, that perhaps it may be very difficult for them to step in very actively, especially given the fact that the permission given to the two Marines really did come in from the Supreme Court. So essentially in that meeting which takes place between Salman Khurshid and the Prime Minister, the road ahead, the legal, the political and also the diplomatic options ahead is something which is being discussed.
Pallavi, you're making the point that the Prime Minister is also consulting with the Law Minister. Certainly the Attorney General will play an important role in terms of putting across his view, which will be the view of the government, to the Supreme Court. How much are we expecting the Indian government to push the Italians on this particular issue?
See, yesterday, Parul, in Parliament also we noticed that there were several senior ministers, and Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Sibal, in fact, all of them were actually meeting up with the Prime Minister. We were also told that they were also discussing this important issue of the Italian Marines, and one opinion which came across was the fact that this is essentially a battle which needs to be fought in the courts. And India is also looking at the possibility of whether they would really need to approach the International Court of Justice, but that's an option which is, Parul, we still don't have complete details on. I suspect that in this meeting which is taking place between Salman Khurshid and the Prime Minister, this is also one of the issues which are now being discussed. In fact, Italy, of course, has always been taking this stand, Parul, that it's a matter which should actually be referred to the International Tribunal. Indian courts and Indian government really does not need to step into this entire issue. But at the end of the day, it's not just a diplomatic issue, but what is worse perhaps for the Congress and the government is a hugely political issue. We saw the way the opposition hit back at the government, and perhaps rightly so, and many would argue at the way that how the Italian government actually did take the Indian government for a ride. So essentially, Salman Khurshid has always been a word of caution that these are issues to be fought out in court, and one will have to take a very cautious step ahead.